Hi, guys. Welcome to our Wednesday, 7 p.m. meeting.
Tuesday.
On Tuesday, 7 p.m. meeting on 9/20. Sorry, right? When we work the weekend, sometimes it's hard to know. Who knows, right? A day is a day. Anyway, Tuesday meeting. So let's start with check-in. Phil Johnson. I love when you go first. So why don't you check in?
You love when I go first, huh? Okay, well, thank you. Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back on the call tonight. I need to be on the call tonight for two reasons. One, a question was raised that I didn't get to bring up on this afternoon. And now Wednesdays are becoming crowded with multiple meetings. I got like 3 or 4 meetings every Wednesday night between 5 and 7. So I guess I'm gonna have to start trying to make it twice on Tuesday. We'll see. But anyway, Philip Johnson. I operate under Johnson Properties USA. I'm a landlord with 10 plus properties. I'm just trying to keep it in the middle of the road, get a little refinancing and update, not update, bring on market some properties I recently bought. I'll wait for you. I'll wait for the good news on that one. All right, so Philip Johnson, Charlotte, North Carolina. Glad to be here.
Nice, Phil. How many new properties did you buy?
It was one property, 2 deeds, 3 acres, and 5 buildings.
Cool. All right. Hi,
Awesome.
Wendell. How are you? Wendell.
Hello, sorry, I'm back. I've had to get off mute. You're too fast for me. You get on, you leave me before I get off mute.
Slow it down. Wendell, what are you currently up to? What do you need to move your business forward in the next 30 days?
Well, I'm about zoomed out today. I've been on a mastermind call from our self-storage mastermind. They did the first live event and combined with a Zoom meeting all day today, or most of the day. So I've been on that. And just still working on tweaking my portfolio. I had a call with my Wealth Factory guy today, talking about, hang on a minute, talking into my own ear. I'm gonna have to mute this thing out. I can't handle that. It says I'm muted.
I got it. I did it.
Anyway, that's what I've been doing, trying to get all that stuff figured out where I am and where I need to be. Always looking at new ways to do it. So
You are truly the master of that. Awesome.
I don't know.
In my eyes. All right, Greg, how are you?
Let me get my camera going here. Hi, Greg, located in Raleigh, North Carolina, looking at single-family homes again, and specifically learning about Subject 2s in the next couple weeks. So if there's someone that has a little expertise with that, looking forward to networking.
Yeah, we actually have some very experienced people with that. So awesome. Welcome, Greg. Happy you're here.
Thank you.
Let's see. Let me go down the line. Well, the line's done. Curtis Waters, do you want to check in?
Sure. Hey, I'm Curtis Waters. Got a real estate business, multiple single and multi-family properties. Let's see, in the next 30 days, I got a Subject 2 that I'm closing on. I've got, I think, at least 5 renovations and also optimizing more of my rental portfolio. That'll keep me busy for a little while.
Just a little while. All right. Happy you're here, Curtis. My name is Adina. I am a broker with Real Estate Realty. And currently what I'm up to is I'm very immersed in tenant work orders still. So that is my life. So what do I need to move my business forward in the next 30 days? 7 days. Contractors, I need them. Please give them to me. I'm going to post my number. If you know anybody, give me more. Okay. And Laszlo. Oh, actually, let's have Patrick check in first.
Hey everyone, Patrick O'Donnell. Currently this week completing a refi package and have another 2 closings on deck. One will be utilizing some lazy assets that were in my Roth IRA account, so getting those to work, and I'll go through in the next week or so.
Awesome. Thanks, Patrick. Glad you're here.
You too.
And Bonnie Laszlo, would you like to check in?
Sure. Currently working, obviously, on, I think we counted 10 renovations at the moment. Also doing a little team building because we have investor support positions open. So on hobbymillionaire.com, if anyone's interested, feel free to put in your application there. And also we've got closings as usual, buying, selling, you name it, we're doing it. And in the next week, I'm looking to finish the 2nd bathroom renovation, and we have some HVAC equipment coming from Amazon. So this will be interesting to see if it really shows up.
And our bathroom showed up today as a package, so that was pretty nice.
Yeah, and it was not supposed to be here for a while, so things were showing up early. So everything is right in the universe. So
I love when the universe is right.
I know.
Okay. Hi, Giorgio. How are you?
Hey, how we doing?
I'm pretty dang good. Well, since I can't see you or your last name, have you been here before?
Yes, I am. My mentor is Mr. Johnson, if you guys remember me.
Oh my gosh, of course I do. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Pretty dang good. Hey, Giorgio, why don't you check in for us? Tell us, what are you currently up to? What do you need to move your business forward in the next 7 days?
Currently, I am looking for foreclosures and distressed properties. I'm looking to do a subject to deal. What I need within the next 30 days to move my business forward is more focus and action.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess spending your Tuesday night hanging out with a bunch of investors is definitely focusing. So step 1 done. Awesome. Happy you're here. Okay. Let me go down the line.
And Adina, ask him why he's here.
Giorgio, why are you here?
Specifically today. What did I challenge you to do?
Today, I am here because I want to be here, and Mr. Johnson gave me a call about an opportunity maybe me and a buddy of mine that is interested in could be a part of. We're hearing that Hobby Millionaires is looking for some sweat equity.
Investor support.
Investor support.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned it a little like right before I think that you got on the call and everything. But yes, we do have investor support slots that we have that can be filled. You just have to go to the hobbymillionaire.com website and then fill out the application.
Great.
Bill, thanks for
Yes.
about the team. Love ya. That's awesome.
Yes. And then you'll be subjected to a very intense interview.
I missed that. Say that again, Adina. You're kind of low on my end. What did you just say?
He's going to be subjected to a very intense interview. It'll be like 4-on-1. It's really
I got you.
All right. Happy you're here, guys. Phil, thanks for bringing him back here with us. Okay, guys, so let's go into, because we want to do all this quick because we have so much to talk about that. Let's go to wins. Does anybody have any wins that they want to let everybody know about, real estate related?
Win to Curtis, obviously, for closing out the 14-unit apartment complex. Yay! Which will also
Yes, congratulations on Curtis.
I know we're working on it also being kind of like another training ground for fellow investor supporters to learn and see how that is done. That would be a whole
Awesome.
repositioning project as well.
I also have a win for Waters. He gave me a phone number to a delivery guy that delivers appliance repairs. And upon talking to him, no, he delivers appliances, and upon talking to him, he also does appliance repairs, which I've been looking for. So thanks, Curtis. Great deal. I'm sending him some tickets tomorrow morning.
Great. Yeah, I didn't know that he did that. I was digging in my archives from 5 years ago and came across his name.
Well, I've
So-
learned from Bonnie, always ask everything that somebody does. So I did it, and it worked.
Great.
So great. Thanks for that, Curtis. Anybody else have any wins that they want to share?
Win to Adina. She's got move-ins and stuff taking place this particular week and has been working on a ton of order tickets and make readies. So win to Miss Adina for tackling that particular skill set.
All
Yeah,
right.
thank
Well,
you so much for that.
in the spirit of encouragement, I usually like to wait for a win to be recorded with a signature and a check and all that kind of stuff. But this afternoon, I came to agreement with my first tenant in the Atlanta Marietta property. And so I guess we'll call that a win, won't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. That is a win.
And just know,
Okay.
guys, you know, wins can be tasks completed. Wins can be waking up and smelling the fresh air. You know, it can be a multitude. Wins for everyone for being on this call on a Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock when you could be having dinner with the family, or I don't know, doing something else. Netflixing your life away, right?
Yeah, also, I just want to let everybody know wins aren't just for you to brag about yourself. If you're looking for money or property or a partner or anything, you know, people want to work with movers and shakers. So it's also a time to let everybody know what you've accomplished so they can recognize you. So just an FYI. All right, any other wins? All right.
Well, our due
Just to let you
diligence ended on one of our properties today. I hate it when people do this, but I guess it's not all bad. This house had some issues, and they came back with a long inspection report and about $1,600 worth of repairs they wanted done on it, but probably not as bad as it could be. You know how those inspectors are; they can chop something into pieces and
Well,
grind it up in a meat grinder.
I give you a win because your inspection report came back 1,600 and our inspection report came back 30,000. So
Oh, wow. Okay, well, I think I feel better about it now, Bonnie. Thank you for sharing that.
I know Curtis comes back and goes, yeah, the house we purchased is I don't know, something's wrong with the second floor. It's like sliding towards the front of the house and is structurally. So yeah, win to you because
one other. I do have one other win that I should share too. We went to Lumberton last Friday and Saturday, and helped to rehab a house down there. They've got an area that if it gets 6 inches of rain, it floods. And the city has agreed to help all those people relocate. They've got 80 applications for people that want to relocate. And this is one of the homes. Me and 5 other guys went down Friday and got started. We had to jack the house up 3 or 4 inches on one side and get it leveled up and ready. And we got all that done and got it ready started sheeting and new windows and siding and everything all done on Saturday. So we're not completed. We've got about one more Saturday. We had 31 people down there working.
Awesome. All right, any other wins really quick?
Yeah, I got some wins. I got the attorney's office, Harry Marsh's office, to complete the final paperwork on a refinance that Bonnie and Patrick and I are doing. Let's see, got that done. And I got my subject to set up to close the end of the month. So a lot of positive movement forward.
Awesome. Yes, Curtis, you will be subject to advice today.
And I do apologize. Are you guys hearing?
Echo.
So-
Somebody's on twice.
Okay, because I hear echoing on my side.
Yeah.
Curtis's.
Somebody's on their computer and on their phone both at the same time.
Not me.
Yours. Okay, both Wendell and Curtis, yours both just cleared up, and so did mine. So I think it was a Zoom thing. We're good now.
All right.
Yep.
Let's go into needs and wants. Does anybody need or want anything?
Contractors.
Contractors, yes. And Bonnie, you have your phone number in there in case anybody has any contractors that they want to talk to you about.
983-0988 obviously is a number that they can be given. Can be used to referrals to.
We're getting that echo in again.
Yeah, I think it's a Zoom thing.
Yeah, mine just went in and out too. I'm gonna call back in again. Weird. Okay, any other needs and wants?
Hey, let me, Adina, do you know when you call in, if you'll click on that, you know how to do it without getting on twice? You probably do.
I just mute my computer and then I just use it like that. But I don't know
If you will click on, I'm gonna tell you, this is something I just learned here, Rachel. If you'll click down there on the arrow beside of the mute button, it will pop up a window. It will give you a phone number, a meeting ID, and a participant ID. If you will dial all that, I've actually entered into my phone as a speed dial, the first speed dial number of 301-715-8592. And then you just have to enter the meeting ID and a participant ID, and it will fix that. So that way you only are on one time.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to take up too much time with it, but what do I click really quick?
Just click on the arrow beside of your mute button, and it'll pop up a window, and it'll give you the dial-in number, the meeting ID, and participant ID.
Huh. Okay.
And you have to manually enter all that, and then it will just have you on with the phone without having you're not juggling between the phone and computer all the time.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Thanks, Wendell. I appreciate that. I told you you're good at everything.
No, I'm not. Just a few things. Every once in a while, I get lucky.
The shortcuts.
Do what, Bonnie?
I think that Adina has been frozen. She is frozen laughing at us. So if you hear us, Adina, we cannot hear you, but we
caught her in action.
Yeah, you look very happy. I should take a photo of her real quick.
She's always happy.
I know. You're back. Okay. You had frozen in a very, very happy position.
Okay, well, did you hear what I said about the chat box, guys?
Nope, we didn't.
Okay, I just wanted to say we're going to go back into property pitches, but I want to say if I skip over you or you want to interrupt somebody, we do have the chat box where you can always enter in your questions, wins, needs, and wants. So definitely utilize that. Okay, so let's go to property pitches. Does anybody have any property pitches?
I'm going to pitch one house that we have. It's a turnkey rental, but obviously it should be a fix and flip exit strategy on this one because the price tag on it is $83,500 is the asking price right now. It's currently rented at $750 a month right now. But it does have room for a second bathroom and, you know, selling at retail, of course, in the future. So I do have that particular property available in Gaston if anyone's interested. Just text me 980-533-0988. Again, that's 980-533-0988. And just know too, this particular property would rent for more, obviously, probably closer to the 850 to 900 if you were to finish out that second bathroom.
Awesome. Good to know. And her phone number's on the chat as well. Any other property pitches?
Where is it?
The property in Gastonia?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll put the address inside of the chat.
Awesome.
Okay.
Any other property pitches? Or
I'm
reverse?
gonna practice again pitching my Airbnb log cabin. I need to get better at this. I went to the Metrolina RIA live meeting last Thursday night, and Larry Goins was there, and he was pitching this. He was working on how to put your pitches together, how to structure deals. So we've got this home that, and you have too, Bonnie, and pushing to say, all right, talk about the things that matter to the investors.
Yep.
I think that's the real key here. So we've got this home. If someone had, could get the financing and finance 80% with 20% down, they could come up with $68,000 and get over a 17% cash on cash return with this home. Anybody interested, let me know.
Excellent.
704-533-2961.
Got to talk about the money.
Awesome. Great pitch.
So where's this log cabin?
And that's all managed by a property management company too. So if they wanted to be, keep them on.
Also, there's a thing called an investor one sheet that I do want to encourage you guys to have. If you have it on your computer, do you guys see the little file button next to your chat?
The share?
Do you have one where you can upload a file? Or is that just me?
I have a share button.
The participants cannot share unless the host allows them to, because I was just looking at that to see about sharing something this evening.
Okay, cool.
You're the host. It says host disabled participant screen
Correct.
sharing.
Correct.
Right.
So if the host enables it, we can share our screen.
Gotcha. I'm looking at over in the chat box. They're like on mine, I've got a file to where I can go ahead and share a file with everyone. So pretty much like if you're going to give out business cards or give out, a flyer and that kind of thing for any properties that you guys are pitching, you can pretty much have an investor one sheet. That's where it's good for you to talk about how to make the money on it. What's the return, what's it going to be and that kind of thing.
No, participants don't have that.
Okay. Are you guys
Would
not
you,
able to send it to
Bonnie,
me?
you should be able to share that somehow in the chat. A link to
I
that
can't
document.
even copy it. I can't even cut and paste from the chat.
Okay.
If you right click and select all, you can save the whole chat.
Well, yeah,
Say the whole thing.
yeah, the saving of the chat's not a problem, but just on here, I'm talking about your investor one sheet. So if you had a flyer on a property that you're pitching and you wanted to go ahead and post it here, you could, conceivably do that.
If you want to share a sheet, go over there to the right on the chat where it says file, and then you can pick a file and share it.
Yeah, that's what I was telling everyone, but you guys said you didn't have it. I guess Wendell has it, so it's there.
No, to the right, and once you open the chat box,
Correct.
once you open up the chat on it comes up as
okay.
okay, I got you.
Yes.
I'm
You
seeing
know?
it on my screen as well.
Yeah. So if you guys have a property you're pitching, then that would be the perfect place just to go ahead and put it up into the chat if you want people to, see a one sheet on that property.
So that's where Wendell's going to put his investor one sheet for his Airbnb.
When he makes one, unless you have one. Do you have one?
Well, I've got a flyer, but I'll once you send me the template, I'll make it. I'm gonna put that in there. Yes, I'm working on that right
Yeah, if
now.
you got a flyer, go ahead and upload it right there.
I will. It'll take me just a minute. I got to get reconnected to my system here.
Awesome.
Awesome.
So
Okay.
what not to put on an investor one sheet is great property, all this superfluous stuff. You got to lead with financials. What is it bringing in? What's my return? What are the expenses? Everything that an investor wants to know.
I'm not going to promise you it's up to your specs, so we'll critique it. How about that? My assistant made it up, so I'm not going to make any promises if it's up to your specs or not. So.
It's all good.
Curtis, why don't you print it out, and if you have a red marker, you can.
No, I'm not going to do that to Wendell.
Fine. It's not my work. It's my assistant's work. I'm not taking it personally.
If I post something that is not up to par, I just tell people that Dina did it for me.
So you can always pass the buck, can't we?
That's right.
So we're going to go to open floor. So I got to be honest with you, Greg, ding, 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 use the chat.
So you hadn't been being before now?
What's going on?
She said she had to be honest with us. I asked her if she had not been doing that before now.
She has not. Anybody that tells me to say use the expression to be honest, I know not to trust them for nothing else. No bullshit.
I was just working on a little lesson learned there for her.
That's right.
Sorry, Adina.
And how many times did Donald Trump say that?
Okay. So, Greg, what do you know and what don't you know about subject to?
I don't know much. It was brought up last week at a webinar, and I had read about it, but I just don't really know how to actually apply it. Maybe we can go around the room and anyone who has experience with subject to kind of share some insight. I think that'd be helpful.
Okay. Yeah, I think that we've all pretty much done them, I think. So subject to, which part of it do you want to start with? Because there's multitude of parts. So where are you at? Just, you haven't had one before? You're trying to negotiate on one, or?
Have not had one. I just think it's an interesting area of just REI to learn in general.
Oh yeah. Okay. So the property that you're in right now, do you rent or do you own?
Rent.
Okay. So let's pretend that you actually own it. And let's pretend that you owe $100,000 on it. Okay. And I don't know what size it is or anything, but I could easily say to you, hey, Greg, can I give you $5,000 and pay you $1,000 a month until it's paid in full? Okay. So if you were to say yes to that, I would then take that property and probably go rent it out for $1,300 to $1,500 a month. And when I get my rent money, I'm going to give you the $1,000. But I pretty much gave you $5,000 non-refundable just to go ahead, and use kind of like as a down payment. And then I let the attorneys do the paperwork. And I could take it subject to the 100,000, right? If I was buying it from you, let's say just from 100. Or you could sell it to me for 120,000. And we're doing a wraparound mortgage that is subject to your existing $100,000 mortgage. All it is a $120,000, mortgage that wraps around your 100, and you've pretty much sold it for a $20,000 profit. You've gotten $5,000 of it up front, and you're getting $1,000 a month from me every month. Does that scenario kind of sound easy to understand?
It makes sense. What is the advantage to the seller to go on this, other than just the obvious, that you're making the money up front?
So one guy, he didn't want to pay the taxes on it. So he was able to pretty much receive money all the way up to basis, so all the way up to the amount that he had purchased, the property for, with paying 0 taxes.
Okay.
Okay. Another thing that people do it for in my, and the reason why I do it. So if I were paying you $1,000 a month, how much did you receive from me after 12 months?
12,000. Right.
And if I did that for 60 months, which is in essence 5 years, how much money total would you have received from me?
60K, right? Plus whatever deposit.
Mm-hmm. So at that point, if you sold the property to me for $100,000,
Mm-hmm.
how much did you really sell it to me for?
40. Am I following here?
Well, so 12,000 times 5 years is how much?
60.
And you got to just pocket all that. So it's actually, you sold it to me for 160,000.
So does that pay, that after those 5 years, does that person still pay what the property was worth, that 100,000 in this scenario?
Yep.
I see.
Yep, because you sold it for 100,000, but on top of that, you received an additional $1,000 in essence a month, which is you're receiving more money.
I see. So then what would be the, from the other side, the advantage for you to do that deal in the long run, at least, since you're paying so much more?
So let's pretend I didn't have to put 100,000 into your deal and I just gave you $5,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 100,000 divided by $5,000 is how much?
20.
So I could have 20 of those deals, right?
So later on, would you have to come up with the 100,000 for each of those properties whenever you decide to buy?
Yeah, but normally the bank would, or I would say, hey, Dina, I've got this property that's rented out for $1,500 a month. I bought it for, $100,000. You want to buy it from me for 110?
So at that point, you have interest in the property, like you have a contract of some sort where you have legal right to buy or sell that property?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. And so how much of a cash on cash return just on my down payment alone, if I sold that property to Adina for 110 and I bought it from you for 100 and I gave you 5,000. So what kind of return is that on my money?
5K over 110, right?
Well, if I give you $5,000, because that's what I've got into it, right? And then I sold it to Adina for 110, but I bought it from you for 100,000. What's the profit on that?
For you 10,000.
And I gave you how much?
100.
And what kind of cash on cash return is that?
For you, it's a 10%, right?
If I spent $5,000 on something and I ended up making $10,000, right? So I'm in essence getting my money back, right?
Mm-hmm.
As well. So just, like my money would come back, with the 100,000 and all that stuff, but just for number's sake. So if I make $10,000 on a $5,000 investment, that is considered a 200% return. Because if you were going to make 100% on your money, right? 5,000, 100% would be, making another 5,000 on top of your 5.
Right. So here you're making
if I made
over
10, I just made
20x.
200% return.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't even count the additional $500 a month in rent I was getting from the tenants. Right? So yes, in the long run, I'm paying, more for the property, but the deal itself is giving me a killer cash on cash return. Because there's no, like if I parked that $5,000 I had in your property,
Mm-hmm.
versus in my savings account, Adina, if you have $5,000 in your savings account, how much money would you have at the end of the year?
Pennies more.
Huh? I know.
Okay.
Hey, Adina.
Yes.
So we were asking you a question.
My computer keeps freezing, I think.
Well, you can call in on your phone too if you need to, just to
Yeah,
have.
I'm about to.
So if you had $5,000 sitting in your savings account, how much money would you have at the end of the year?
Oh, maybe like $5,003.
Yeah, just realize, guys, your savings account, I think y'all should kind of look and see how much your savings account pays out. So it's better for me to go ahead, you know, and give Greg my $5,000 and do that deal, even if I'm paying, you know, $160,000 at the end.
So now, why do more people? I guess why are there barriers to entry for people to do subject twos, and people go down the traditional route of just putting a down payment on a house instead?
Education.
It's called sheep. You're not taught this in school because in school you're taught to get a job and pay taxes,
Yeah.
do things a certain way. You know, anyone can do this. I mean, I've done it. Curtis has done it. Wendell, have you done a subject to? I think he's kind of missing in action. Philip?
Oh, yes.
Well, I haven't
Several of
done
them.
what's called a subject to because that name didn't exist. But the predecessor I did 4 times
Yeah.
40 years ago, which is called a loan assumption, assumed a loan. I assumed 4 loans from people who were about to go into foreclosure, and I had no idea what they. Well, I was never getting rich or something like that. Has never ever been one of my goals. I did come to learn that loan assumptions was a clear, easy path to richness that I didn't. I just helped those 4 people out because they were about to lose the loans. I made a few dollars, but I knew a friend of mine that I graduated with at the same time said he was going to own 50 houses by the time he was 50, and they were all loan assumptions, and he did do that, and then died at 54. But it was just.
So, Philip.
Yeah.
I got a quick question because I'm just curious.
Yes.
When you say the word loan assumption, you're telling me that you went and applied with the bank and got approval to assume that person's loan?
No. Prior to around 1975 or 1980, I don't know the year, mortgages did not have due on sale clauses. You could assume a mortgage of somebody's without notifying the mortgage company. You could retitle it, etc.
So
it's only when they start putting due on sale clauses.
Philip, that's not a loan assumption. That's a subject to. So you've been doing.
But that name didn't exist subject to before. It was called a loan assumption.
Yeah, it's been about 40 years since every lender virtually stopped loan assumptions.
Correct.
Well,
That's what it was called.
But that wasn't a loan assumption.
Right.
Yes, it was. Why wasn't it?
Because a loan assumption is when you apply with the bank, you actually get pre-approved to take over that person's loan. Then the bank will go ahead and do an assignment of that mortgage into your name and hold you personally responsible. Whenever you take something over where you're just taking over someone's mortgage, that's actually a subject to.
I'll defer to Curtis. He can. Curtis was back then. He was back there. He's my age. Go ahead, Curtis.
Yes, back in the day, you could go in and make someone's payments. You would let the bank know.
You just write them a letter, and they'd have to turn the mortgage over to you.
But you did not have to fill out any paperwork or
None
qualify.
at all. None at all.
They have
If the borrower had deeded you a quick claim deeded over to you in a document saying he allowed you to assume it, all you did was notify the lender that it was in your name, and that was it. You didn't have to.
That was too damn easy, and
Yes,
so all the lenders said, "Hey, That's too damn easy. We don't know who these people are.
Correct.
We haven't vetted them. We don't know if they can pay. We don't know what their credit score is.
Well, that
So
sounds like the birth of the due on sale clause.
Yes.
It was. It was. It
Yeah.
was.
You did that, you could have been deeding it over to a homeless person, you know?
You
So
could have. Yes.
I know, for instance, in Central Florida, when Kennedy Space Center wound down from the Apollo program, I had a guy tell me, he goes, yeah, I was kicking myself. He said, I had neighbors that said, hey, I'll pay you $100 to take over my mortgage,
That's correct.
so that they didn't default. And
Correct.
he didn't do it.
Wow.
And it was that simple. But
It was that simple.
you know, there are multiple ways. Oh, did Greg leave?
If he did, it was intentional.
Now, a question I do have is for Bonnie, Mr. Johnson, or even Kurt. You know, what are some of your ways that you find subject to deals? Some of the places that you look, maybe, or the networking things that you may do to find a subject to.
So for the most part, subject twos are made, not found. I mean, I do have wholesalers that have brought me subject twos, but that's because they know how to pitch them. Typically, you will see it with homeowners that are in default or don't want to go in default. For instance, the one that I'm going to close on the end of the month, the guy's just tired of being a landlord. The wholesaler said, hey, do you have a loan on it? And he goes, well, I got a home equity line of credit, and it's all tapped out because he wanted 12 grand. And so my first thought was, well, have him go pull the 12 grand from his line of credit and spend it, and then we'll freeze the account, and I won't have to come out of money anything. But unfortunately, he was already tapped out on his line of credit.
Yeah, I mean, every subject too we've done, we've proposed to the seller and brought it to them. And you know, maybe one of the indicators you can look for is something with the property that's not causing it to move quickly in the market relative to other properties. And we've done that, and fortunately we're investors, we're real estate professionals, and we can identify what the gap is, and we can correct that to make it more marketable in the long run and bring more value to it. So, you know, and these can be done on any kind of level of a house as well, anywhere from your renovation house all the way up to your $1 million mansion houses as well. So, I mean, we're just creating those, as Curtis said, you know, very rarely does the general population know about it, but it usually takes a discussion and a conversation about how there can be a win-win on both ends of that.
And the thing is, you just keep it very simple. And then also, you know, we all have, well, I mean, myself, Curtis, Adina, we all have real estate licenses too. So we can usually pull up in MLS all the owner finance deals, you know. So you just pretty much put in there, you know, what type of financing, because people will say like only cash, only FHA. And all we do is put in their owner finance, and we can get a big long list of all these properties that people are willing to owner finance, which is, you know, normally a lot of times subject to that existing, you know, mortgage that's underneath. But I've gotten them all off of what? MLS, wholesale deals.
Driving for dollars.
Yeah, driving for dollars. Because all we do is say to them, hey, you know, because normally if I tell them, hey, let us give you, you know, $15,000 an X amount per month, you know, they kind of see, oh, I can have that 5,000 right now, or I can have that 20,000 right now, like tomorrow, and do this deal. I'm like, yeah. And we'd have the attorneys do the paperwork. So someone who's pretty much strapped for cash that wants that, you know, $20,000 up front or $5,000 right now, and have their mortgage covered is normally that person that's going to say yes, in our experience.
Now,
Well,
when
all
you're
four of mine came from people facing foreclosure, did not want to have that on their record, and
Yep.
that was their motivation.
Yep, they needed that money.
Now, are you guys, say the number is 5,000. At the point that you're offering someone that 5,000 to take over their mortgage subject to, one, do you receive the deed? And two, do you always have that person move out, or are there situations where you let that person stay in the home?
Never,
Okay.
never, ever, ever let them stay in that house.
And I would defer to the experts on the line, but it seemed to me the amount you offer could not come until you had done a little research to see how much equity they had. You can offer somebody $5,000 who's got 50,000 in equity, but if they're upside down and have no equity, seems like to me you can't put 5,000 in stone as an amount you want to offer somebody. That's probably what I'm saying.
No, it's based on your cash on cash return. And I'm only worried about cash flow. So I have purchased, I purchased a house a couple of years ago as a subject to that had zero equity in it, but it had cash flow. Payments were $200 a month, and it rented for $800. So, you know, I think they ended up with 2,000 or 3,000. Most of that went to the wholesaler, and it was, you know, like a 40% plus cash on cash return.
And then also in 2008, a lot of the properties had zero equity in them. I bought them all. Bought them all. And then I also took the people and they actually purchased lease options from us. So they gave us like $15,000 to then go live in a different house. And then I just used that $15,000 to go reinstate the loan, you know, because they weren't paying their mortgages. And I'm just like, all right, well, you know, we'll take it over because the monthly payment was great. You know, it was only like $600, $700. And then we went and rented them all out at, you know, $1,200 to $1,500 a month. So just know that everyone's got their own, you know, ideas of what a good deal is. But, you know, Curtis, you know, look at cash flow. I look at cash flow. If I can get stuff with equity, great. But for me, it can be underwater. It's all about the deal too. Because, you know, I always tell people, you know, the biggest example is, and I've given everyone this example, I'll buy $1 million house, you know, as long as my payments are $100 a month for the rest of, you know, eternity, right? You'll just deed it down to your kids or friends or whoever, give it to your favorite charity. Because obviously if you bought it for $1 million and the monthly payment's $100, you're going to be paying on that for a very, very, very long time. So just keep that in mind.
Ideally, do you want to do something like that? Because wouldn't they be getting you on the back end with like interest and stuff?
Like how? Give me an example.
Like as far as you paying a mortgage and you're paying more interest than you are the principal, like having a mortgage open for X amount of time, wouldn't they be getting you more on the interest and you would end up paying more than the house is worth?
So what is the mortgage payment?
Well, you said $1 million at $100 a month, right?
Sure. So my monthly payment on this house that is $1 million is $100 a month.
So I'm saying, like, is that more principal than interest, or is that like?
So what if I was renting it out at $1,100 a month? How much am I making every month?
$1,000.
So I'm making $1,000 a month on this property that I can just rent forever.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That $100 pays off the $1 million, right? So for me, I'm sitting on a property that I got for, you know, $1 million per se, right? But I'm cash flowing $1,000 a month for the rest of my life and the lives of, you know, everyone I, you know, in essence, pass it along to, or any type of, you know, charity that I give it to, you know, whenever I pass. So, you know, that type of a deal, although you bought it for $1 million, it really doesn't matter because your monthly payment's $100.
Yeah, don't get caught up in the fact that it's $1 million house. You know, the reason Bonnie says $1 million is she's taking it to extreme. So when you look at any purchase, it's price or terms. And, you know, isn't this a great purchase term? I got $1 million house for $100 a month. Let's say the owner owns that free and clear. You know, it's an extreme case, but it shows you the power of what terms can get you in the way of cash.
I would do that deal on like any house.
Yeah. So the house Bonnie and I got that was $200 a month. I think on the closing statement it said $67,000, and we kept it a year and a half, cash flowed it. We actually sold it for more than that, and made money on it, and we cash flowed it the whole time. You know, it was great. You mentioned something else about keeping people in the house. There was one investor who kept people in the house, ended up on Channel 9 News. You know, here's a bunch of mean real estate investors that evicted a woman. He foolishly let her stay. Another local guy let someone stay in the house. They ended up pushing this out. About 2.5 years, cost him $35,000. I know there's a lot of feel that, hey, I'm doing good in real estate, let's help people out. Unfortunately, it's going to come back to bite you. Don't do it.
Yeah. Because it's so easy for someone to be like, oh yeah, help me out of this foreclosure situation. And you could pay, you know, $20,000 to pull them out of foreclosure, for them just to turn around and turn victim and say, oh, you took advantage of me because I was down and out losing my house. And, you know, you got me to deed my house over to you. I mean, you know, do you want to go in front of a judge explaining yourself, you know? So I never, ever, ever leave a person in the house. I would not recommend it for anybody.
Is there a process for getting them to move to another place? Like, do you give them a time limit for them to find their own place? Do we help them to find their own place?
All of the above, but the day of closing, that house needs to be empty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bonnie and I had one a couple of years ago. We got from a wholesaler, and they said, we'll be out the night before closing. I showed up the day of closing. The sale at the courthouse was happening at 11 a.m. So it had to record, our money was ready. I had to record before 11 a.m. And I go by there at 9, and the sister of the owner's in the house sleeping. Yeah, I can be out in a day or two. So we didn't go through with the sale.
And that was dodging a silver bullet. That was the one where, you know, it cost the other investor $30,000 to get him out.
Understood. Overstood.
Yeah, I mean, learn from our mistakes and all the other investor mistakes, right? You don't want to be in boat. All right, what other open floor items? Any last minute ones, since we're down to about 4 minutes left to our meeting?
Yeah, I was hoping we were gonna get the open floor. I had something I want to discuss, but it look like it's not gonna make it. Also, I completed.
Go for it, Phil. We've been in open floor. Go ahead.
Okay, well, what I want to know on open floor this afternoon, I want to know how you guys felt about taxes, about what's her name this afternoon? Remember, was talking about that she didn't want to sell her house because she didn't want to pay capital gains tax.
Okay.
And,
yeah.
I wanted to know what you guys thought about that.
We had talked about doing a 1031 tax exchange.
Yeah, I heard that. No, what are you? Okay, let me put it a different way. If capital gains taxes are only 15% on profits from 40,000 to 450, and after that, if you have a net profit of over 450,000, then you pay 20%. So if you don't have capital gains taxes. I don't know what, our tax bracket goes from 12 to 36%, I think, this year. But I imagine many of us are in that 20% or less taxpayer range anyway.
Do you
So I'm
like paying taxes?
Well, I'm trying to figure out. I don't have a problem with taxes. I love to pay taxes on $20 million, which means I got the $20 million. I
Okay.
don't want to pay more than I have to pay. But what I'm trying to say is, if I'm going to pay 10%, 15%, I guess that's what I've been paying most of my life. So maybe I'm tuned wrong. So that's why I wanted to ask you guys what you thought about it. Are you saying you think you try to defer taxes forever, or what?
Well,
Yeah,
she
of
was
course.
she was yeah, she was
Yeah, you
looking
don't want
at
to pay taxes unless you have to. I mean, so
Yeah.
what is your? I mean, what are you going to do with the money?
Say that again, and we'll
Yeah,
break it up.
what are you going to do with the money? Are you just going to take the money and go buy something else in real estate?
Yes. Well, me at this point, I've got a plan that I'm going to systematically start selling stuff and use it to fund my disposable lifestyle for like 15 years. And if I get to 90 and get broke, the hell with it. But I'm not so sure I'm gonna get to 90.
So instead of doing that, why not just do a cash out refi and allow the tenants to continue to, I call it the golden goose that lays the golden eggs, right? So
I hear you, but you manage properties and I manage too. I'm kind of I'm not going to object to that day when I'm not going to ever get a phone call again, like I got this afternoon from one of my tenants saying the house next door is being sold and they're putting a survey and I want you to come over here and make sure they don't get on my property. A nuisance call.
what now? You're concerned about a telephone call?
You said, why would I rent them out forever? I would like to stop managing at some point, yes.
Okay, so you can hire a management company, obviously, or you could go ahead and sell it on an option to someone. So they take care of everything. They gave you a down payment and you're receiving rents, but you don't have to manage anything. Same thing with owner finance. You could, in essence, sell it and still, receive those monies coming in, but you don't have to deal with the maintenance.
But isn't that seller financing, isn't that money that trickle in cash flow I'm receiving, isn't that taxable to me at ordinary income?
Not if you end up getting principal payments and don't receive anything with interest. Because then you can go ahead and receive everything, up to your basis, because you're not receiving principal and interest. You're just receiving principal. So another thing is, I keep telling people, you don't want to kill the goose that's laying the golden eggs, because the golden eggs are pretty much what you should be living on, the things that you should be utilizing. Because if you cash out everything and let's say you just got robbed, what are you going to do now, right? Or what the banks go under, all that stuff is gone. But at least if you go ahead and use these properties as your bank account, if you need some money out of it, go ahead and, do the cash out refi, because then you can get lump sums out of the properties, tax free, because when you do a cash out refinance, you don't have to pay, taxes on those monies. And then the tenants are making those payments for you. If for some reason you don't want to deal with the tenant and, 8 to 10% management fee isn't handleable, isn't worth it to you or whatever, then at that point you could sell it on an option and just be like, hey, do you want to put $5,000 down and pay me, $1,500 a month? And then that way you don't have to deal with any of the maintenance anymore. But if it's a phone call that you're worried about, just hire a call center, and then they can call the call center and you have the number to your handyman. It's like that way they just call the call center and the call center gives the, work order ticket to your handyman, and then you don't have to deal with any of that, right? And then if a tenant calls you and says, hi, the neighbor is surveying, come over here and make sure they don't come in my yard, that's when you tell them, would you like to move out so I can get a less high maintenance tenant than you? You know, I mean, you don't let tenants walk all over you. You know, it's like, I'll normally repeat the question. I'm like, so let me get this straight. You would like for me to come to your house to make sure that the neighbor isn't coming into your yard? I'm going to go ahead and let you explain that to the police. So if someone comes into your yard, I want you to treat them as a trespasser and call the police department and explain to them what's going on. Okay? Because I'm not going to put myself, you know, in harm's way per se, right? To go and have a confrontation with somebody. And if it's that really big of a deal, you know, they're not hurting anything. Let the people do their job and get the heck out of there, you know?
I feel you, Bonnie. I feel you.
And I don't mind having that phone. I don't mind having that conversation, but then again, I'm in property management, right? So, you know, I've been managing properties for a very long time, and, you know, I have no problems with telling them, you know, I'm sorry, but no, I'm not coming out there, you know?
And, you know, Phil, if you feel, hey, I don't want the calls, I don't want any idea of a call, you know, there are multiple ways you can sell and spread your tax impact out. You know, you really can't get to the point where you're not going to pay. You're just shoving it down the road. That's the whole idea of tax deferral. But if you did an installment sale, like Bonnie said, you could opt to get principal payments back up front to your basis, and then you don't pay tax until you've reached your basis. Even if you did this on a straight, say a 20, 30-year mortgage, and you're getting principal and interest on a deferred sale, you can still take that as capital gains, but you're pushing it out many years.
But I would personally suggest you do an option. Take the lump sum of money up front, let them deal with all the maintenance, because while they're paying you that monthly rent, you still get all the tax advantages. You still get to claim depreciation, taxes and insurance, you know, all that stuff, you know, gets to still be a benefit for you, but you don't have that headache of doing the property management anymore.
All right, well, don't go anywhere, because in a few years, I'm going to start that process. If this lady doesn't, I'm committed to sell this property on Naka. If they stumble, then I'll just quit thinking about selling anything until I get ready to do them all.
Yeah, I mean, you can just pull the funds out, Phil, if you need some extra cash on things and enjoy, you know, lump sums that way. But don't kill a goose. You know, keep the gooses that lay the golden eggs and enjoy the life that the eggs pretty much, you know, give you. And if you don't like doing the property management, then let someone else do it for you. You know.
Well, my assessment of property values, I've done spreadsheets 2 or 3 times on letting somebody else manage it, and they take all my, not only my profit, they take my cash flow on property management, and that's why I don't have one. My wife just walked out. I wish she was still standing when she said that, because she's definitely upset that I managed everything myself.
Well, a lot of things have to do with the property management is learning how to manage your managers, right? So if all they're doing is handling the phones for you and taking the calls and all that stuff, you can hook up with a property management company and say, look, you guys manage my property, but you have nothing to do with the maintenance. And I'm going to make sure that all my maintenance go to this plumber, this handyman, you know, and this electrician. If you're going to have any type of participation, you know, with managing my properties, you know, you can easily work out stuff where you handle your own maintenance, because a lot of times.
And you telling me they're gonna do that for 3%?
For what? On property
taking the phone calls, and I still got to do everything else. You think they're gonna accept 3%? Or they gonna still want that 8%?
Would. I mean, you could get that for a call center. You could easily go up on Upwork as well, and you can hire yourself a full real estate assistant out of the Philippines for, you know, $3 to $4 an hour.
There is a solution, isn't it? Okay.
Oh yeah, there always is. And I like the Philippines because, you know, their timelines kind of get to pick up where ours leave off, and it's daytime over there, so I don't have to worry about someone getting woken up in the middle of the night, because I'm already up during the day. It's just the nighttime where you have a problem. So for you to easily have someone in the Philippines on a call to dispatch something to, you know, it's fire, flood, or blood in the middle of the night, right? So it's mainly a plumber. Anything else is pretty much going to wait until the next day. but you can easily have your, 5 points of contact where they can disseminate that information if needed, and you can just pay those people a flat rate. They take that 3% happily.
All right, well, we're gonna
Oh.
talk more about that because I am now working on seeing about putting everything in this in the LLC. So if I can get that done, that sounds like the prime time to start that. So
Gotcha. All right, so do we have a little bit more questions about, or something that we wanted to add about the owner financing aspect of things? Giorgio, you had anything?
Yeah, I'm kind of familiar with it. I understand that basically this is a person that is free and clear of a mortgage.
Not necessarily.
Okay, well, let me act oblivious. I'm completely ignorant to the subject. Break it down for me.
So anyone can owner finance their property, whether they owe money or not. So it's that simple.
Okay, and then what's the process of the deal?
So what do you want to offer? So is this for a fix and flip? Is this for buy and hold? Let's break it down that way.
Let's do a buy and hold.
Okay. And how much are you going to rent the house for?
Say $1,000.
Okay. And so assume you got to pay taxes, insurance, maintenance and stuff. So let's say that your mortgage payment to someone's going to need to be like $600 or $700. Okay. So we'll just say $700. So Adina, would you take pretty much $5,000 down and payments of $600 a month on a house that you would sell Giorgio for $200,000? Giorgio, would that be a deal that you would take?
Good deal, I'd take.
Okay. Why would you take it?
200,000 doesn't sound like a lot to pay off in a span of time, and at $600 I'm making a $400 profit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're making a $400 profit times, let's say 10 months, because I always tell people I'm Asian, I still can't multiply by 12. But if it's 400 times 10 months, use the last 2 months as an oopsie daisies, right? That's giving you $4,000. You just gave her $5,000 to get into that deal. So your year one, you made $4,000 on a $5,000 investment. That is way over.
90%.
Yeah, a 1% savings account type of return. So, it's one of those things, regardless of if it's 200,000 or if it's $1 million, that would still be a decent deal because of the cash on cash return, right?
Yes.
So does that, and owner finance is just simple as that. Just keep it that simple. You know what I mean? But, obviously figure out what, the real pricing is going to be. Does anyone want to add anything else to the scenario about owner financing so he can understand a little better?
Just a quick question. The house was worth 100,000, and the seller then, if he's going to finance it, offered to sell it for 200. Is that a reasonable, even though you're getting this 90% cash on cash return, which increases yearly after you get your principal back? Is that a reasonable, is the sales price being nowhere near what it's worth? Is that reasonable to accept just because of the cash on cash?
Depends. I mean, what's the long-term goal for the financer? Do they want to be paid off and have that loan paid in full or matured within 24 to 48 months? Are you setting up your lender for failure? Like, there's something called loan to own, right? So, I mean, it depends on what your goals are as a lender.
Okay.
But I mean, it's good. I mean, you're not going,
Possible.
like your borrower, are you talking about lender or borrower, Patrick?
From
He's
the
talking about lender.
lender, because he was asking if you have a house
Mm-hmm.
for that you have 100,000 in, but you can get 200,000 out of it. It just kind of depends. I mean,
If the borrower wants to take on that
Yeah.
deal, sure. You have
And,
to have a buyer that would be willing to take it on.
and the buyer is willing to take it on because of the spread between the payments to the seller and what he can rent it for, which was
Cash flow.
$400.
Yeah.
Totally based on cash flow. What you guys don't realize is this: if you actually look at $100,000 house over the course of 30 years time, do you guys realize you're really paying double for it anyway?
Triple.
Or more? Yeah, I mean, it's like people don't realize that. So what's the difference with me asking to pay, you know, $600 or $700 a month until it's paid in full? Absolutely nothing, you know, and I'll pay more for it because I understand that concept, right? And you guys can understand that too, because it's very powerful because you can get a hold of a lot of houses that way as well.
It's a good thought. Offer them double what they're asking for to get the terms you need.
Yep, you can do that. And that's better than going off to the bank and getting, you know, a 30-year mortgage that's in your name or something that shows up on your credit, and you're paying less over the long run. Fruit for thought, right? Different ways.
I'm writing it down.
There's a million and one ways to skin a cat with all this stuff. And, you know, this is the great thing about our meetings and us connecting, because it's, you know, one of those things where you start learning how to think a little bit differently and do deals possibly differently. Now, Adina, you want to go ahead and do any announcements before we end off?
I just want to say that I am excited if anybody on the line is going to put in those applications for investor support at hobbymillionaire.com. Excited to see where you fit on the bus and what you want to learn and get out of it. So put in those applications if you're interested. If we have a meeting tomorrow at 7 p.m., of course.
Yep.
And that's about, and this is a good one. Offers class is this Saturday from 9 to 12. You have the offers where you sit down with Bonnie and team, and side by side we make real-time offers, find properties. It's like really, really awesome. So that is this Saturday from 9 to 12, but you have to go on Meetup to sign up for that one.
All right, guys. Well, it was great talking with everybody. Love ya. What's up, Phil?
I just wanted to say I completed my homework assignment about the splitting the property. But
Oh,
I
you
can't
did?
build.
What's the price real quick? Give us that info.
Okay, the info is $1,000 or so is roughly reasonable. The price should consist of 3 components: one, the survey fee; one, the lawyer fee for filing; and one, you need to clear a proposed rezoning with the planning department of a county or city. Sometimes that could be, you know, a couple $100 fees in that regard.
Nice. I like it.
But he gave me a piece of he gave me a more pertinent advice that if I had it up just a second ago. I had it up just a second ago. Oh, there it is. Okay, what he warned me is indicated that this was a fairly easy test on what's called a minor subdivision. But one, most important, you'll need to make sure that both lots meet the minimum size requirement for that zoning or subdivision category and for the municipality. And
Nice.
also you'll need to make sure that each lot has road frontage and or access easement.
That makes sense. So kind of just so everyone knows what Phil's talking about real quick, just recap, we're talking about at another meeting what it would cost to draw a line to separate 2 houses on one parcel, or to separate land off of another property that you're selling. And we came up with the price being anywhere from what sounds to be $900, $1,000 to, you know, $1,200 to have them go ahead and come out and survey, have them make sure that the zoning department will file it being, you know, the meeting requirements, I guess, for the road frontage, as well as the size lot you're allowed to, you know, cut off, as well as being able to, you know, have the attorney do the paperwork in order to close that deal out for you. So thanks for getting that homework for us, Phil. That's great information. I appreciate it. And good to have everyone on the call tonight. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you guys tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Bring your questions, concerns, and your wisdom. And have a great night, everyone. Bye.
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 Bye.